Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. I am doing a live. Actually, today I had a full day of recordings scheduled with Kelly, and she had something come up at the last minute. And so it all got canceled. And I thought, well, I'll do one on my own today. So I am actually doing that. However, I wanted to jump on and do a live first. And share a little bit about why I'm actually doing this. Again, I know I posted on Facebook several, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago that Kelly and I were diving into doing this. And I wrote a little bit about why, but I thought, you know what, let me just share more about, the heart in why we're doing this. We're going through my book, Psychic to Prophet, and she's interviewing me. We're going chapter by chapter. And I'll say, what provoked this, the process of of us doing this was actually when the controversy and the exposure came out in Kansas City at the International House of Prayer. And of course, many people were tracking with me then because I really was speaking out about it. I had information about it. I knew about it. There were some other things that were going on for years that I knew about. So I was really speaking into a lot of what was going on and standing and saying, no, this is true, because I knew what was coming out was the absolute truth. And I had been fighting behind the scenes for many years for some of these things that I had seen with my own eyes and been a part of for several years in the church. And so, in doing that, what happened was I just got inundated every day with people who were reaching out to me who were just, honestly, they were bleeding all over the place. Just, it opened so many wounds. People were hurt. People were confused. They didn't know what to believe. It was triggering old traumas, and so I found myself with a huge group of people that I didn't even, I didn't know what to do. I didn't have the time to talk to everybody. And so, of course, I started the little group that I have now called Seen and Known, which has about 200 people in it. And I'm actually taking, we've got some small groups that we're taking people through actually a form of a process that the Holy Spirit took me through many years ago. And so, and I had been, so we're actually in the middle of doing that right now, but I had posted a little bit about my time at, in Kansas City at the International House of Prayer, and some of the mistreatment that I experienced that was quite traumatic for me. For those of you that don't know, I was a leader at IHOP in the Prophetic department. And there were a series of things that happened a few times, actually, that, let's just say it was not easy. And so in my book, I actually talk about what happened and the process that the Holy Spirit took me through, which was so profound that it changed my life completely, like forever. And I actually tell people that in the midst of that, and only by the grace of God, was I able to walk that one out well. I mean, it's amazing that I honestly had absolutely, I say this just complete truth. I had zero bitterness in my heart. I had zero anger. All I had was so much love for those leaders, my fathers, and what they had done to me. And I mean, all I had was love. And I came out of that situation so grateful. Believe it or not, I was like, thank you that I got to go through that because it was a gift to me. It literally was how it brought me into a depth of intimacy with Jesus is something that you just there's no price you can put on that. And so I saw the situation as a gift, and I never, honest to God, from the beginning of it even to today, all the way through, there was never a time where I had bitterness or anger in my heart. Again, by the grace of God. But again, it's because of what he took me through, how he led me through some of those situations that were happening. And so, like I said, I was posting some of this, and some people that read my book actually had said to me, why don't you, can you do a video and actually talk about, how you walked through that? Because I think it would be really helpful. And actually, Kelly Evelyn was one of those that said that to me. She's the one currently interviewing me. And I thought, okay, you know what? I had sort of been already feeling that in my heart. And I said, okay, let's do it. But then I thought, you know what? Instead of just doing that portion of my book, let's go through the whole thing, because there's so much more to, like, what I went through at IHOP really is not just kind of like a single situation that happened, meaning it plays into a bigger story of what God was teaching me and forming in me, um, regarding many things. Of course, my relationship with Him, but especially, I'm not going to say especially, but including things regarding the prophetic, because of course that's been my life. Chapter 1, we actually go through being a gifted child, and some of what my early childhood years look like. Getting into chapter 2, we talked about my teenage years in and out of mental institutions, where I experienced quite a bit of trauma, and we did a video on that. We did a video on my life as a psychic and what that looked like, and my supernatural deliverance, and that I encountered the Holy Spirit and how He completely turned my life around. And so, into, of course, which we haven't gotten there yet, but the IHOP stuff, we're just on the verge of getting into that chapter. And I learned through everything that I went through in my journey, there were so many things that He taught me in the midst of everything else about the prophetic. And to be honest, I don't even like that word, prophetic. And I talk about this in the book, I was so offended at the title of the book. Really, I did not want that title. And the Lord was so firm with me on the title. And I'll explain it in the book why. It was quite profound and important for me. And so, I just really want to, well, let me add this first to that. A big chunk of my journey that even relates to what I went through at IHOP, and what many of you, I mean, my situation obviously was a little different. And again, I was a leader there. But I think many of you will find you'll be able to relate in a lot of it. And, IHOP being known as a prophetic movement, a prophetic ministry Of course, we know many of the known prophets that that we know in the charismatic movement came out of IHOP. And so, IHOP has this reputation of that. And so it's kind of not disconnected from what actually has been exposed and what's come out. And I think a lot of people are wounded and disgusted, and I'm in that. I'm included in that, with how the prophetic is being used, how it's being misused, and how it actually played into the deception at IHOP. And again, for those of you that are watching and you're not familiar with the International House of Prayer Kansas City, you can go look it up. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, talking about that, but it's not disconnected. Our understanding of the prophetic and what happened there. And so I really and I wrote this book in 2019, and I really hit a lot of those points about the prophetic. And it's interesting because when the Holy Spirit called me to Kansas City, to the International House of Prayer, I knew nothing about it. Nothing. I mean, zero. I knew nothing about Mike. He had come to my church once, and this was probably year 2000, maybe 99, 2000. And actually, it was probably 2000, 2001. Anyway, and he talked on Mary of Bethany. And that was all I knew about him. I never looked up Kansas City. I mean, that was it. And so I talk about it in the book. I came into a season of my life, and I won't get into it now, but it was a supernatural calling to go to IHOP, to go to Kansas City. And I look back and I find it so interesting that in the midst of everything that was going on that's revealed now, that was the place where the Holy Spirit met me in a powerful way about the purity of the prophetic. And that is so interesting to me, that it was in the midst. And I talk about different things in the book where through the years, over and over, I encountered disgusting the way the prophetic was misused, specifically in a sexual nature. And so I knew there was a polluted spirit with the prophetic, and I had went to different leaders about it, but it really wasn't the heart of what the Holy Spirit was actually doing. Like in Kansas City, I never paid much attention even as a leader. I never paid much attention to the prophetic history. I mean, of course I heard it and I was like, okay, whatever, like my main thing there was that prayer room. It was meeting Jesus in that prayer room, in the Word, and him working in me and developing things in me and my relationship with him. And a lot of that was centered around the prophetic, because of course in that prayer room, I cried out in deep groanings with the Holy Spirit to show me the true prophetic and what it's about, because I was seeing the same things in the church that I saw when I worked as a psychic in the New Age. And it stirred a holy disruption in me. And so, that out of that place, he taught me, he began to teach me. And, I developed content. I did teaching and training in the House of Prayer. I multiplied the prophetic department and training and raising up people. And so, and it all came out of this content that the Holy Spirit gave me that even today, it's still the foundation of everything that I teach from. And so, I don't know why I got off on that tangent, but just to say, I really want to encourage you guys, if you're in a place where you feel really hurt, offended, stuck in any kind of trauma, and of course, everyone goes through that process differently. I have my life, if you read my story, I had trauma after trauma after trauma. I mean, like, I look back sometimes and go, how am I normal? I'm not normal, but how am I like a functioning human being? It's only by the grace of God. And so I say that to say I know trauma. I know trauma. And if you're in that place, number one, related to trauma, no matter what it is, whether it's related to Kansas City, the church, no matter, it does not matter. Any kind of pain, offense, trauma, I want to encourage you to follow along with us, because I am going to get into some things that I have no doubt will help you. And at the very least, it will encourage you to give you a little bit of even direction in your relationship with Him. I have done this with people for so many years, and I have just seen lives changed. And I can't honestly, I can't brag on it. It was never my idea. It what came right from Him, and I'm so immensely grateful because it gave me freedom and kept me from offense, and not, it didn't just keep me, it moved me into a place, you know. So again, if you have anything like with that, I encourage you to follow along with us. If you're in a place where you're really frustrated with the prophetic, you don't understand, you know, any of it, and you're on the verge of just pure bitterness with the prophetic, which I do not blame you, and I have been there. I have tried to run from my calling more times than I can count, and with tears, begging God, because of the disgust I have in the prophetic. I want nothing to do with it. And so, if you're in that place, I want to encourage you to follow along. I think that there's maybe some nuggets that you'll get out of that will help you. And um, And if you are in a place where you just want to really grow in your intimacy in the middle of all of that, grow in your intimacy with God. And because so much of my book, I feel like the heart beat behind all of it, what it's pointing to, because I'm not going to preach, but everything is, when we preach, when we talk, when we prophesy, it's all pointing to something. We're pointing, we're showing, right? We're getting people to look at something. And one of the primary things in my book that you get out of that is about trust. It's about trusting Him. It's about following Him, trusting Him, and so many encounters with His love that I had, you know. So yeah, if you guys aren't following along yet, chapter 1 and 2 are the full episodes are already out up on my YouTube channel. That is Michelle Seidler. And chapter 3 is coming out next week. And yeah, just I want to encourage you to follow along with us. And and another thing, in any of these videos that you watch, whether it's on social media or whether it's on YouTube, if you have any questions, please post them in the comment section, because I am going to be doing kind of one-off videos on my own answering questions for people. no matter what your questions are. But specifically getting into the prophetic, because I'm going to talk about what the difference between a psychic and a prophet is. I'm going to really hit some probably some of it is going to be controversial. I think even in my chapter 2, I think it might provoke, or chapter 3, it might provoke, even be a little bit controversial for people, because I do hit on some of the new age stuff that might make people uncomfortable. So if you have questions, please write it in the comments, and I will do videos and answer those questions if I can, if I know the answers. And if I don't know the answers, I know how to help you, point you to the one who can give you the answer. So yeah, and you guys, please share this video, share my videos, share the interviews. I don't get anything out of doing this. My heart really is to help. It hurts me to see people in pain and suffering through the things that are going on, and just in the church in general. I have a deep pain, as I know many of you do, about the state of where we're at. But let me say this, even though I feel the pain and the trauma of where the church is at, I am so confident in what the Lord is doing. And I know that it's for our good, meaning we're being purified. Things are exposing. Corporately, the church is being purified, and individually, we're being purified. And that's never it's not an easy process. We're confronted. But just as I talk about like what happened with me at that one of those times at IHOP, how we respond in the midst of something like that is really important. It's not right or wrong or good or bad, but there is a more fruitful way to walk it out, where you don't have to suffer as much, and it doesn't need to be dragged out as long. And of course, I'm really big on everyone has their own journey, and you get to choose your journey. And there's not a right way or a wrong way. He's a good leader. I don't believe in a lot of mistakes. I believe that when we're looking at him, they're all opportunities for growth. And so I don't get a lot of concerned or fearful over where myself or anyone else is at on their journey, for that matter. He's a good leader. He's a good leader. So nevertheless, there's some good stuff in there. I want to encourage you. I think it went way longer than I wanted to go on this. I can't see your comments, but yeah, track along with me. Please go to my YouTube, Michelle Seidler, subscribe to it so you can get notified. And please share this video, social media, share it to your friends. It's going to be good. There's some good stuff on there. So thanks for listening, guys, and have an amazing weekend.